Yo! Welcome to episode 31 of the 240p Club.
We've reached number 31, which is a fairly uninteresting number.
Yeah, nobody really thinks about 31.
Yeah, everyone gets excited for their 30th birthday. Not me.
Not me.
And then, 31 rolls around and you're like, I'm 31. Anyone's, I guess, a prime number. No one celebrates the 31st anniversary of something. Yeah. But you know what? 31 is going to be an awesome number. You know why? Because we're the 240p Club, and goddammit, we have a good-ass podcast.
And it's the first one we've done in a while, because we've all been, sick or working. Or bad weather.
Yeah, I've been, dead.
Don't even get me started.
I actually took a picture of my arm with the Fitbit because I had a line underneath the heart where it's supposed to reach my heart rate, and there was a line, which means I was actually dead.
you may have flatlined a little bit and come back. You didn't bring anything back with you from the nether regions, have you?
Nah. Maybe I'd bring my grandfather back. But he's having too much fun with Frank Sinatra, so I can't take him away from there. He would probably get pissed off. He's like, "Why did you bring me back, Nikki? I was having fun!" Yeah, cool.
Yeah, sure. I don't know. We could track down Gunpei Yokoi if he's around.
Maybe.
Get him to do a new Metroid game, save that franchise somehow.
Yeah, and we can forget about Other M.
Yeah, although the remake, the Metroid 2, the official, I should say, Metroid 2 remake that Nintendo put out for the DS was supposedly really good looking. It was good looking. I haven't got a chance to play it since I don't really own a 3DS, but it looked very good.
I do.
Yes, you should.
I have the cool Zelda 3DS XL.
You should definitely look into getting that game, the Metroid game, and writing us a review, all that wonderful stuff.
Oh, maybe, because I don't even remember the last game I bought for the 3DS.
Yeah.
It's been quite some time.
Yeah, I got a Nintendo Switch, and I'm not even thinking about 3DS. It's because, I don't know, I'm around the airports a lot, so I do see people, bringing in their bags, they will pull out the Nintendo Switch, they'll have a Game Boy in there, and they'll have a PSP, they'll have a tablet, a laptop. It's people are going with all of these electronic devices, and for a trip like that, I'm down for having a laptop, and that's really it. Or even if I just want to keep that at home, just bring the Nintendo Switch. I can't do all these video game systems. Although I go to work and I carry around my Switch and a PSP, which has a bunch of retro games on it, but I never really get a chance to use any of these, so I don't really see the point.
Yeah, that's just way too much stuff to carry. First off, secondly, it's you have to keep track of everything. Say you go to the hotel and then you want to have all your electronic devices out. Now, when you're about to leave, you have to make sure you have them, and there's always that feeling in the back of my head that I forgot something.
So some people are meticulous with this. They have a checklist of all their what do they bring with them, and everything has its own compartment in their luggage. So when you're repacking this, it's bam, here. You have a certain rhythm about you to repack your bags with all your electronic devices in them. But it's just a point of why are you bringing so many electronic devices with you to begin with? Call me really old-fashioned, but don't people talk to each other anymore?
Guess not. I guess we've all become very antisocial the older we got.
Yeah. I mean, especially with iPhones, which I don't even think we've mentioned.
Oh, yeah, everyone has their, iPhone, Android.
I have an Android.
Basically smartphones. They carry them around. Basically, you have people that are, figuratively zombies. They just walk around, phone in hand, hitting the phone, doing this, doing that. Nothing important, really. I mean, I'm guilty of this. I've checked Facebook out of habit, instead of actually having a purpose on there. I've literally just sat on the bus, just looked at stuff for a couple seconds and go, okay, I'm bored. Pull out the phone and and look at Facebook. And this is, in the morning time when I haven't had a chance for my coffee to kick in yet. So I'm commuting to work. I'm sitting there with my technology going, but I'm still able to read and somewhat comprehend Facebook. So, it's an addiction that is groping a lot of people right now. And, if people aren't on drugs or whatever, they're hooked on social media. It was the same back in the day when MMORPGs started getting really big. People spend most of their time there. It's, we've been addicted to technology for years.
It's getting to the point where, they have a retreat in, Oregon or something just to keep people away from cell phones and everything, and just for rehab, basically. Sort of like a more humane version of the Chinese internet camps, if anyone's heard of those.
Do elaborate.
Where it's basically like boot camp. Some people have actually died in those.
Yeah, most of my I actually remember this. I think it was maybe 3 years ago at this point. I had a iPhone 6 that decided to crack on me. It fell, it dropped it. I think this is what cracked it, but I didn't see any sort of crack whatsoever, and it was working. So I threw the phone back in my pocket. I bent down, and all of a sudden I hear a pop coming from my leg. I'm like, well, what's going on? I pull out my phone. It's got a giant crack in it. It was still working for a while. I was like, I don't have the money to replace this, and this isn't like a huge deal breaker for me. But then the phone stopped working entirely, and I had to save some money in order to get it repaired. But in the meantime, I had a little prepaid cell phone, and yeah, basically it didn't do much. It was basically phone and text. It didn't even access the internet. So basically the only thing I was using that for, too, is to keep in touch with my wife and to keep in touch with work, just in case, I got called for an extra shift or two, because, I used to put my name in for, overtime. So, I'm basically at work with barely any technology, and this is when I bought my PSP and decided to put some retro games on it, and I'm not going to explain how to do that. You could Google it and figure it out, piracy, etc., etc. However, I'm sitting on my lunch break playing Super Mario Brothers, and it was a great feeling because basically I'm not looking at a screen where, I'm just looking at random bits of text. I'm sitting there with the PSP in my hand, playing a game from my childhood that I could pause, focus on in and around the room. It's a good conversation starter. People hear the Mario music. They're like, oh my God, you're playing Mario. How are you doing that? This, that. It's a good icebreaker. Hand the PSP off to someone. It's like, hey, you want to play life? And then they basically just explain the controls. Loving every minute of it. You make someone's day. Plus, again, like I just said, it's an icebreaker. It's a good way to fire up a conversation.
I'm still playing this iPhone game myself called Final Fantasy Record Keeper. Occasionally people will hear the music. It's sort of an icebreaker that way, except I'm not as good at talking as you.
So that's okay. I mean, the best part about that game, I played it for a little while until it was just impossible to keep up with anymore. Because it's one of those freemium games, you can pay to get stuff, but at the same time, I never paid a dime in that game. It's just, it was a nice little time waster. It was fun, and best part about it is all the original Final Fantasy musics are on there, so as you're playing, it's playing the Final Fantasy VI music or the Final Fantasy V music, and not only is that bringing back some memories, but people that have actually played that are like, oh my God, are you playing Final Fantasy on your phone? It's just like, no, the Record Keeper. Explain it. They could download it and play it, or like I did. I give this game ultimate credit because it got me to actually sit down and give Final Fantasy X a serious effort. You know why it became one of my favorites in the series. Not my favorite. 6 is my all-time favorite game of all time, but 10 became one of my favorites of the series, and it's all thanks to this game. So, kudos to that, and plus kudos to the icebreaker there.
And with my phone, I don't have a lot of room on my phone, so I kind of had to pick and choose if I wanted Spotify, Pokemon Go, or Fire Emblem Heroes, which I ended up deleting both Pokemon Go and Fire Emblem Heroes on my phone, re-downloaded the Heroes onto my tablet, so it plays a lot better on my tablet.
Yeah, tablets usually have faster processors.
It does, yeah, and And now I just have Spotify on my phone. I took all the games off because it's just...
Yeah, my phone's essentially music and...
Just music, yeah.
Yeah, music, pictures, like, some stuff for the 240p Club I've actually filmed on my phone. But, it's... In that aspect, it's a handy tool, but, as a society, we've become more attached to our technology than we have our personalities, I think.
I feel like... more so like my generation, I have to... Well, I don't drive, but when I'm in the car with my brother or my mom, and we jam on our... Like, we have to jam on the brakes because someone is on their phone, like, looking down while crossing the street. Like, I'm not judgmental or anything, but it's like, well, how dumb are you to cross the street with your phone attached to your face? Like, you don't even see cars coming at you.
It's not even the being dumb aspect. It's just you're so engrossed you don't even know your surroundings.
Yeah.
Of course, there are people who do it while driving too, and I've had to honk at people at green lights, which is probably the least destructive scenario.
And I probably had to swerve a couple times to avoid someone just driving, looking at their phone.
Yeah.
That's scary, but imagine so we're like more retro gaming podcasts, and we're chatting about like modern technology here, like a growing trends. I don't to bring it back to like a retro gaming aspect. I don't really remember ever doing this, holding a Game Boy in my hand or a Game Gear, because I had both. And basically the Game Boy was awesome because you're taking a long drive to the shore points or to the mountains. You're sitting back of the car. I don't know. When I was like 9-10 years old, everyone was bored of places. Because, you're looking at the scenery and stuff. It's like a lot of trees and this and that, but it's just, there's nothing really going on. My parents didn't really listen to the music like I listened to back then, which was just like, all rock and stuff. That's a generational thing. This happens to everyone, but meanwhile, you're just sitting there bored. So it's like, okay, once I got a Game Boy and started playing that, it basically made a trip like that tolerable, so to speak. You got engrossed into your game, but at the same time, I've never ever seen back in the day, I'm sure it's happened, someone walking while playing their Game Boy and walking into a pole, walking into this, walking into that. Whereas like kids are doing that today with their portable technology. They're looking at their phones, walking into stuff. You see a YouTube video of a girl walking into a mall fountain because she's focused on her phone, so she flipped right over straight to the fountain. Yep. People walking into signs, walking into trees. I've done that stupidly, but I blame lack of sleep. I didn't have any technology in my hands at the time. This is the society we live in. It's gotten to the point where people are slaves to their technology. They're looking at their technology, and we're providing some technology because we're recording a podcast you may very well be listening to on an iPhone while doing something instead of talking. I'm not saying to turn us off though.
No, please don't do that.
Yeah, please don't turn us off to
We
go
have nice,
chat
interesting things to say.
Yeah, finish the podcast, and then, use it as an icebreaker. So you hear about the 240p Club podcast, what they brought up today? Yeah, hey, we like the subscribers. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Tell your friends.
We like you all.
We always like, people adding us. So, anyway...
I can pretend to be nice.
Yes. So, anyway, instead of having to walk around with your technology keeping you occupied, why not head to something, say, a museum?
Oh, yeah.
Museums are pretty cool. You get to see museum-type stuff. And some stuff you wouldn't actually expect to see in a museum, which, coming up in the Philadelphia area anyway, I'm pretty sure they might be developing this elsewhere, but the Franklin Institute has something called the History of Gaming, which is basically, that's called the History of Gaming, right?
I think it's either called Game Masters or History of Gaming.
And it's subtitle History of Gaming. I think it's called Game Masters. There's basically, you walk in, we didn't get a chance to go yet, we will have a full review once we do, but I've seen, they had a story about it on the news. You walk in, they have, game designers' works. scattered about. No one from Nintendo sadly do the licensing, but I've seen what was his name, Yuji Naka from the Sonic team. That just shows some of their work. You walk around, it's basically a bunch of both Japanese and American game designers and some of their works, and it's interactive to the point where you can walk in and play a lot of these titles.
I think they said they have over 100 games available to play.
Yeah, when I walked in there, I seen someone playing. Well, I didn't walk in there. When I seen the newscaster walked in there on the TV, I seen someone playing the Sonic 1 for Genesis. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I don't know if they have any prizes or whatever. You can just show up and show off your retro gaming skills, or just watch the new kid trying to get a hang of it. Never played Sonic before, and then you just I don't know. I'm not usually a backseat gamer, so to speak, but if I see someone doing something way off, I'll be happy to give them pointers. It's probably easier if you do this, this, and this. Because I know I would have liked that back in the day, experimenting with some of these games, trying to shave off points on my timer, or trying to figure out how to beat a certain boss, and basically pulling my hair out for an hour, and then it turns out there's an easier way. If you're a big fan of retro gaming, definitely, if you're near the Philadelphia area, check it out. If not, keep your eyes peeled, because a lot of museums and places like this are more willing to have exhibits for modern and semi-modern technology than, they were in the past. Whereas you go to a museum, you're watching some dusted off dinosaur bones. And
you guys can also watch me play Dance Dance Revolution.
Yes, you can see Nikki.
Not exactly retro, but it's a fun game.
Hey, that is actually considered retro now, which is...
yeah, you're right, it is.
Making me feel really old.
God, I remember going to the arcades back in the day.
It's even been ported onto the NES at this point, called D-Pad Hero, I believe.
I think I've seen someone actually did that. They ported it over to the NES. It's
wow.
Unofficial, but you know what? It runs on real NES hardware if you could track it down. And
I remember back in 2001, I would watch all these kids go, all the cool kids would go up to play DDR, and they had it in the corner of the arcade, and you had to know where it was, and
oh, of course,
Yeah,
well, it had its own spot. I know.
Well, yeah, because it was a big machine. There wasn't
I know down by the Jersey Shore, they had a few of these. You see the big entrance to the arcade. They had a few of these in the front because they were so popular. Mm-hmm. Yeah, including they had a Guitar Hero arcade. I've seen that. I walked by, you insert $1. They charge $1 for it, and you got to show off your skills.
Your guitar skills, yeah.
Yeah, or lack of.
I remember I played when I went to one of the Flyers carnivals. I played Guitar Hero with one of the players. I don't remember who it was. I just remember him being so tall. And he actually jumped in front of me because I'm 5 foot and he was about
over 6 something,
6, 7 or something. Yeah,
that sounds like Chris Pronger.
I see his face. I can't remember his name. We traded him to Tampa Bay.
That wasn't
Brandon something.
Brandon Coburn.
Brandon Coburn. Yeah. He jumped in front of me. I forget the song we were playing. I think it was Raining Blood. Yeah, and I just remember the mothers were covering their kids' ears because it was da 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 da. It was of course a very loud and angry song. Yeah. So I don't think he realized that I could actually play the song without having to see the screen. So he jumped in front of me, and I'm still playing it behind him and everything. And mind you, I'm not good at Guitar Hero. I can't play past novice or something, but I beat him, and it was cool.
Yeah, I was never good at Guitar Hero. I never had the coordination.
I can't. I mean, shit, me and my friend were playing an iCarly song, and I lost in the first 5 seconds.
Anyway, what else are we chatting about today?
What have you been playing since I've been dead?
We were playing Yumi Nikki. No, actually, no, I haven't played that yet. I downloaded it because it was free on Steam, and it's just it's designed retro style, like an RPG using RPG Maker MV, I think. But it looked interesting. I've
heard about it. Isn't it supposed to be sort of like a creepypasta sort of game?
Something like that. I was just joking because your name's Nikki, and it's just like, who have you been playing since I've been dead? You mean Nikki?
Yeah, I've been, dead for, 3 weeks.
Yeah, she's alive now.
I am. I came back to life.
Yep.
I came back to life just in time to get my wisdom teeth taken out. Woo!
Yay.
That happens tomorrow.
I remember reading, back in the 90s, or early 90s, there's dentists that they got this technology where while they were working on you, mind you had to be awake, obviously, for this, to doing a dental procedure, where basically on the ceiling, because, the dentist chairs are sitting all the way back and basically staring at the ceiling while they're working on your mouth. But they had a video game screen in there, you had to hold the controller and play games like Mario Brothers and stuff while the dentist is working on your teeth. Which is brilliant because, especially for kids getting basically something non-painful, like a teeth cleaning, which it just sounds scary because, they use that apparatus. It's the same thing as the drill, only it's not a drill bit going, it's the brush thing. So, they have that going. It sounds scary. It's painless on your teeth, but at the same time, you're a kid. You have a little bit of nerves, going into the dentist. All of a sudden, hey, you hand in a Nintendo controller. They say, hey, look at the ceiling. Hey, it's Mario Brothers.
Yo, I want this now.
Yeah.
Damn. I'll go play Mario.
That'd be awesome,
Yeah.
These are ideas from the 90s they need to bring back these days. Although I'm sure it's still scary when you're getting drilled as you're trying to beat one of the Koopas.
Wasn't the Atari Jaguar, towards the end of its lifespan, also retooled into a dental tool of some sort?
I've never seen that. Have they done that on YouTube, or...?
It's around someplace. They painted it white and repurposed it as a dental tool, but the shape is still the Atari Jaguar shape.
That's amazing.
You know what I would really like to play while I'm getting my teeth drilled or teeth cleaned or whatever? Duck Hunt. Actually, that's a bad idea.
I can't imagine that being good. You're given, especially the weight of that zapper.
Yeah, I would have to have my arms up. It's I can't get in your mouth if your arms are up.
I still have a zapper. It was kind of heavy. I mean, it wasn't that heavy, but if you hit someone over the head with it, it will do some damage. So can you imagine getting your teeth pulled? You have this annoying little kid zapping the dog. The dentist starts hurting. Ouch! Starts hitting him with the zapper. That was a lawsuit waiting to happen. Imagine the headlines: kid assaults dentist with zapper light gun.
I told my dentist when I'm getting the procedure done, I'm bringing my plushie because the last thing I need to do is start swinging my nails and start swinging my hands and scratch.
For you, if they see your violent tendencies, they're just going to get the laughing gas right away.
It's gonna be. I'm just gonna be the hysterical.
They're gonna be like, Nikki, you know what? We're just gonna do this with a little Novocaine, But since you are so crazy, we're gonna make sure you are high as a kite when we're pulling your teeth.
Well, that's even worse.
Here's a mask. Breathe.
That's even worse. I'll just be like.
They'll probably give you some more gas then. So basically, you'll just be sitting there like you're at a Grateful Dead concert or something, staring.
And then I'm just gonna take another swing.
And you might wind up hitting yourself because you're so high. That felt good. So then they finally have to get the restraints down, and to drill your teeth.
I said to myself also, I'm gonna have Spotify on or something while they're doing the teeth, and I said, what soundtrack should I put on?
There's a band called Driller Killer.
Well, okay. Because my first idea was that I was gonna have the Streets of Rage soundtrack on. I'm like, that's a bad idea.
Oh no!
That's a horrible idea.
Think of some non-violent game. What is non-violent?
Dude, I was just gonna put Green Carnation on then.
Ooh. Bubble Bobble.
Or Bubble Bobble.
There you go, the Bubble Bobble theme.
I don't know, I personally go with something more appropriate, Plaque Attack for the Atari.
There you go.
Yeah, I was just gonna put, what was it, Light of Day, Day of Darkness on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Or Crimson or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's also a surgery game called Trauma Center for the Wii, I think, but...
yeah, I think I remember that.
I'm just trying to remember if there was one that involved dentistry.
I don't think it was ever dentistry, but I know, I think Trauma Center was like made by the same people who made like Persona or something. It looked like a dramatic Persona game.
Hey, and the game designers, that's something to consider. Why not break out a dental influenced game? Maybe something for the Nintendo Switch where you're holding the Joy-Con and you basically have to do like dental procedures like on a mouth. Like it's just a giant mouth, the plaque's attacking, you gotta zap the plaque and then, get the drill in the right place.
I know there are a lot of shovelware games on iPhone with like, I don't know, popular characters that you have to work on their teeth. Like, I'm sure there's like a dozen Elsa Dennis things out there from Frozen.
Yeah, I'm sure half of these things are bootlegs too. This is like they probably didn't acquire the licensing in order for you to basically just sit and work on Elsa's teeth.
Well, you take out enough of her teeth that she won't sing "Let It Go" anymore.
I'm kind of picturing this as the Three Stooges game for the NES, like where you had to do like the whatchamacallit, like you had to get the crackers out of the soup before the oysters snap at you, and every time like they snap, it's a close up of curling, and whoop, 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 whoop.
I can also see like any kind of like teeth game like this. I don't know why I can see it becoming like fetishy.
I'm not even going to go into that one.
Yeah, that's a little okay.
Let's drive this topic way far away from that.
Yeah, let's drill it away. Bad pun. Shut up.
Yeah, let's wipe the plaque away from that topic.
Okay, close enough.
Okay.
Wait, I was just actually.
Let's brush this from our memory.
Wasn't there like some game where like you had to pull the teeth out of the crocodile?
I don't remember.
I had it. Like it was like you had these yellow pliers, and you had to like pull the right tooth.
Oh, like, you're talking about
I don't remember the name of it.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's like the gators on the floor,
yeah.
or wherever.
And then if you pull out
you wind it up, the wrong tooth, it snaps, and you lose the game. Yeah, it's like a kid's game. I remember that, but I can't think of what it's called.
It like bites you in the hand, and I was like all nervous. I'm like, what if I pull out the wrong tooth and he bites me? It's like the crocodile doctor or something.
Yeah, I don't remember what it's called.
If any of our listeners remember it,
feel free to chime in. Absolutely. Speaking of interaction, if you want to interact with us, head to facebook.com/240p Club, or updated more, our Twitter at 240p Club, of course. Go to our website, 240pclub.com, which we just actually wrote a blog about Toys R Us and our memories of the chain, which, we're not going to really go into in the podcast because we wrote a nice long article. Go read it. Toys R Us is a cool spot. And one of our other things, YouTube. We've used our YouTube to upload all our old Twitch playthroughs, but now Ray is currently working through some of our old podcasts and uploading them to YouTube. So, instead of going on iTunes, just say you have a YouTube app on your phone, you want to stream this in low bandwidth, and, maybe you just want to hook it up while you're driving or whatever, hey, go to our YouTube page. It's the 240p Club channel. I am really not sure the URL offhand, but you go to Facebook and you go to YouTube, you type in 240p Club, you'll find us. But yeah, no, it was trippy. Actually, in order to do something special for that, I took the tapes from podcast 1 when we recorded back in 2016 and remastered them basically into a 20-minute, well, it was like 25 minutes, maybe 25, 26 minutes of a podcast. And that was quite trippy because I completely eliminated the Oregon Trail playthrough, which is a stupid idea because, we were going to play Oregon Trail. We had a recording as we were playing.
But you can't see it.
Yeah, you can't see it. It's all the audio only, which, we have a Twitch account. Might as well use our Twitch account for something. So we will be streaming Oregon Trail eventually on there just to, give you guys a real look at what we're doing. But we went through podcast 1, re-edited it, That was the only one we actually did 2 takes of, like, recording wise. So the podcast you are listening to when you go to iTunes is basically a combination of take 1 and take 2. This one remastered. I basically used the intro for 1, but then the bulk of it is take 2. We talked about most of the same things. It's just we mentioned a few different things here and there, or we mentioned it a different way, brought up a few other topics. I just think it's better because at 2 years of learning how to edit podcasts, it became a whole lot easier to do. So it was definitely trippy, a definite warp trip down memory lane to one of our favorite recording sessions. We did a couple podcasts that day, actually. We did our podcast 2 the same day, which is our Zelda podcast. And yes, that was recorded in 1 take. You remember that, Nikki? You remember anything about the recording there?
No.
I remember her calling Link adorable. That's about it.
Yeah, you did.
I did?
I think you did.
Well, Link is adorable. Look how cute he is.
Yeah, but we were talking about, something about an elf, and then, you're like, no, you don't know what can of worms you're opening. See, I had to listen to these to try to...
Yeah, I honestly don't even remember. I don't even remember what I had for breakfast today. I didn't have breakfast, that's why.
There's a few podcasts I really don't remember recording, to be honest with you. Some of these, no offense to us, because I'm insulting us,
yeah,
not you guys, but, sitting down and recording some of these podcasts was basically in and out of my memory. It's just I don't remember recording it, I just remember, hey, it's up, I could listen to it and go, oh yeah, like some of the earlier podcasts. Some of the later ones I do still kind of remember our recording sessions for. There's a few really memorable ones we recorded. I do remember the number 6, the RPG podcast.
Yeah, I remember that
which actually should be uploaded in a few days, actually. April 6th, it will be uploaded, actually, in 2 parts. Yeah, that was fun because we recorded that all in one night, even though it was published, a week apart. But yeah, that was one of our longest recorded podcasts because we had so much to cover. We covered the RPGs in general, and then we covered basically our top Final Fantasy games and our top 10 RPGs. So that was basically a top 15. We went into detail for a lot of these, especially for the top one. Top one, spoiler alert, Chrono Trigger, which, should surprise nobody.
This is me clapping. I'm trying to just not
clapping,
making...
Yeah.
Try not to make a loud noise with my clapping.
Golf clap. Yep.
It's my second favorite game of all time, that's why.
Yeah.
I'm biased.
It's one of my favorite games ever. Super Metroid's up there as well, but my favorite of all time is Final Fantasy VI, which turned out to be our top Final Fantasy game. Because, we all voted on this. Each vote was a amount of points. That was a fun podcast to record, though. It took a while. When we were done, we had that sigh of relief, we just ran a marathon.
And then I had the whole, I don't want to see none of you for a week after this.
Actually, 2 weeks, because we didn't have to record again for a while. Because we had 2 podcasts worth of stuff. That was a good memory there. That will be available on YouTube, and yes, go check that out once it's available on April 6th.
And speaking of Final Fantasy VI, I'm actually working on a Let's Play of that, or at least a certain version of it. You'll hear more details about that later.
Yeah, we'll definitely be talking about that in future podcasts. Speaking of future podcasts, actually, 31 was meant to be a live podcast. Yeah, we were going to set up the cameras. Remember podcast 15, we recorded it at Winterfest, middle of a February day, but it turned out that February day was warm as could be. Well, we're having the opposite problem. We missed Winterfest, so we were going to record this sometime in March. We had a location picked out, scouted. Our recording day came around. Guess what? It's raining! Our next day came about the following week. It was nice and sunny. Recording day, terrible rain. So, anyway, we decided, alright, we're going to try the following week, after we were all sick, etc., etc., etc. Finally well enough to, hey, maybe we could record this. You know what happens? We're recording this instead. You know why? Because it's hurricane force winds outside, and I'm scared while we're recording we're going to wind up in the land of Oz somehow.
My power was out at home before I showed up here. I wouldn't be surprised if it's still out because of the damn winds.
Yeah, my power's still here, but I'm not sure if my porch still is, so there you go.
The wind was making me fly around on campus today.
Did you have a broom?
No, I had an umbrella.
Okay, so you're Mary Poppins.
Yeah, sure.
Nikki Poppins.
Like, I was trying to walk in a straight line, and if anyone would see me, like, I looked like, you know
Mary Poppins, basically. You're carrying the umbrella and flying down,
you know how, like, when you
ready
take
to save the Von Trapp children.
You know how, like, when you take the sobriety test and you have to walk straight? Like,
She's not that drunk.
I was, like, wobbling, like, I was going this way, and then I was, like, going left, and then, like, the wind actually, like, knocked me off my feet, and I'm like, ah, crap!
Oh, shit.
It was scary, like, it was just scary, and because there was, like, packed with cars, and a bus was coming, I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna get hit by the bus by being dragged by the wind.
By that point, you just let the umbrella go. It's like...
It wasn't the umbrella, I put the umbrella down.
Oh.
Like, I closed it up. It was just me getting blown away. And, like, everybody on campus is just watching me, like, fly around. I'm like, none of you are gonna help me? You're just gonna watch?
Yeah, you're putting on a show.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's like, whee!
Exactly. Hey, you know what? It was fun, though. Not almost getting hit by a bus, but it was fun, like, flying around, like, woo!
Yeah, no, back in the day, you know, you're home after school or whatever, it's rainy out, you know, or extremely windy out, and definitely not a good day to play anything, except your Nintendo, of course. You just sit in front of your Nintendo, bust out that controller, and play whatever, like Blaze of Steel or something like that.
Pilot Wings.
Pilot Wings.
Me and my dad would play Pilot Wings.
In days like this, yes.
I swear to God, like, he was not really much of a gamer, but, like, he used to play the games with us on it. He was better than anyone I'd ever seen play any game. Him and I would play Top Gear, he would always end up in, like, first place, and when we would play Pilot Wings, he would always, like, have the best scores, and I'm like, I can do the rocket belt, that's no problem, but the airplane, I can't do. And he was just doing the airplane, like with his eyes closed.
His motivation is work on it, like, work on your technique.
Kind of making me want to dust off Pilot Wing 64. I never played the original, I did play 64, and I was pretty bad at it.
I always noticed that, like, every other version of Pilot Wings was nothing like the Super Nintendo. Everything was kind of like a resort kind of thing. Whereas with Pilot Wings on the SNES, it was like a flight simulator. And then, I know I've mentioned this before, like, as soon as
a few podcasts you mentioned this.
Yeah, and then, like, as soon as you're done with the whole simulator thing, it's like, all of a sudden you got, like, this Russian espionage thing. And I'm like, the hell? What? I thought this was, like, a simple, silly little flight simulator.
And then you had to go on a real mission in the middle of, the game.
Yeah, I'm like, the fuck is going on?
Yeah, that turned
dark. Big Al comes in and he's like, the three, Tony, Lance, and Shirley were kidnapped. I'm like, by the Russians, and you need to go in there and rescue. I'm like, what?
That's just random. Just threw that out at you. It's like, hey, the Russians kidnapped you.
And, like, I remember the screen, like, the intro screen turned dark. It was like a sunset kind of thing, and the entire screen then turned red. It's like, danger, danger, this happened. I swear to God, the first time I saw it, like, I just jumped off the floor, because we used to sit on the floor and play it, and I jumped behind my dad. I said, Dad, something's wrong with my game, I don't know what's going on. And he was like, oh no, it's nothing, this is just an extra mission. What do you mean an extra mission? Give me the controller and I'll show you. He finished that stage like it was nothing.
My cousins were good at a few games, actually, over the years. They've actually, my one cousin used to play a few games and show me basically how it was done. Bionic Commando being one of them. I remember him, like, blasting through that game. And then I finally got a copy of it, and I spent months trying to figure out how he beat it, and then I finally figured it out. And, it's basically, we all had games we were really good at as kids, but, you had, like, that relative or that friend that could blast through certain games, and you didn't feel bad, you weren't thinking spoilers, this, that. You went over to their house, they were playing it, they were actually putting on a show for you doing this. It's just like, yeah, watch me get through this game, and this game. I can imagine your dad doing that. Like,
oh, yeah.
The controller. It's like, all right, I'm just going to put on a show for you.
Mm-hmm. He liked, we played Super Mario World together. We played Zelda together. I remember, I wanted to be Link because I thought Link was a girl at first. And I'm like, I want to be the female character. I don't want to be the helpless princess. So I thought it was a female saving another female, which I thought, that'd be pretty cool either way.
Link to the Past randomizer, you can be Zelda.
Yeah.
Rescuing Zelda.
That's cool.
Yes.
And we had like paper plates, and he made me a
shield,
a paper plate, sword and shield, and it was really cool. So we played a Link to the Past together. Excuse me. We played Top Gear together. He really liked Goal because he's a big soccer guy. He was supposed to be a professional soccer player, but things happen.
Never actually played Goal.
Goal was fun.
I forget what my first soccer game I ever played was. We didn't play a lot of them. I played actual soccer too, which is scary because I used to be really good. I gained a lot of weight now, but back in the day when I was like 12, 13, I was really good at soccer. It's just I never actually played a video game version of soccer. But likewise, aside from playing football with my friends, we never, American football I'm talking about now, we never played like an actual league in American football. I just played with my friends like two-hand touch or, rough touch. And then, but we were definitely addicted to some of the Madden games, and Cyberball is one of my favorite games too, like the Genesis conversion of the arcade game. The Genesis version was fun. I used to have some fun playing that.
There was this one weird soccer game Tecmo made. I think it was like Tecmo Cup Soccer or something. No, it was a soccer game.
Oh,
it was
soccer.
It was sort of like a soccer RPG, and it turns out that was in Japan. It was actually based on a popular anime, Captain Tsubasa.
Wow.
Yeah, which they didn't really bother to edit the sprites or anything, so it still looked very anime.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's cool, though.
If you ever played Blitzball in Final Fantasy X, it's sort of like that, actually.
That's interesting. Well, Blitzball was modeled after soccer, but Blitzball was like soccer / water polo /
Yeah, we're also talking about the same country that had a lot of fishing RPGs on the Super Famicom, so I guess anything can be made into an RPG, basically.
Yeah.
If you try hard enough.
How do you level? You level up and get more lures, I guess?
Something like that, or I don't know, I guess they just do everything with numbers, basically. Instead of just,
Oh, so it's sort of like a D&D thing where you roll a certain number and things happen. Like they have certain multipliers. I can see that, yeah. That's weird. I've never really sat down and thought, hey, I want to play a fishing RPG. Breath of Fire had fishing in it, but we never, never did like a fishing RPG. I would just 3 had one of the best, more sophisticated fishing systems, so you didn't really want to do a dungeon right away. You're trying to put this one hard dungeon off, and you're sick of leveling up, your characters and stuff. So you go off to do the fishing sim, and yeah, it was basically like you were playing like a fishing sim, right in the middle of the game. But I've never actually wanted to sit down, play a fishing RPG, and try to level up to get different lures, or level up to fight certain fish.
I know certain games are doing that now. I know one of the latest itineraries of Samurai Warriors 4, they did 4 different versions of the game. One of them, I think it was called Spirit of Sanada, where it was all about Yukimura Sanada and his clan. They added fishing into that, where you had to get the big fish, the biggest fishes that you can find, and then you had to go to whoever you had to bond with, and they would give you a better. If you gave them a better fish, they would give you a better item. Which they added that now into Dynasty Warriors 9, where I remember the fishing during Ocarina of Time also.
Oh yeah.
And the thing is, it's not it wasn't a BS thing. I think you had to get the biggest fish so you can get the lure that you can you can go all the way underwater to get to the water temple. And
oh yeah, it was a required part of the game.
I think it was
just an optional. Breath of Fire 3, I remember it was optional except for like one scenario. You did need to do some fishing in order to get like a required item. But the rest of it was pretty optional. But it was a good quest because if you caught all the fish, you got the maximum score. You wound up like getting a bunch of items from the ultimate shops. Like you get the best sword in the game, the best armor in the game. Granted, there were other ways to get these, but this is by far the easiest way. So it was definitely like a worthy side quest, but
I've actually never fished in real life.
it's fun. I used to do it. I had more fun crabbing. If you ever done that, crabbing with hand lines and stuff, that's fun. Like actually, me and Ray went on a crabbing expedition one
with
time.
our friend Chris.
Yeah, and that was extremely fun. Then I'm looking forward to doing that again this summer. Like, there's a certain season where you got to do it, or else you're not catching anything. But eventually we will be doing that again and recording absolutely no podcast on it.
Yeah, I would imagine.
But yeah, to bring that around, actually, we were talking a lot about Breath of Fire. Breath of Fire turned 25, I think in the U.S. anyway. Breath of Fire is 25 years old and still going strong. It was a fun RPG. It was made by Capcom. Capcom decided they weren't going to market here in the U.S., so Squaresoft just picked it up and just basically translated it and sent it over. They didn't really do much to the game. They just translated it and sent it to the U.S. It sold reasonably well. This is back in a time when RPGs weren't, like, guaranteed sellers for a system in the U.S. In Japan, obviously, people went gaga for RPGs, but U.S., less so, as all the hardcore gamers really playing them. So, hence, the Capcom scene did well and released Breath of Fire 2 by themselves here. However, Breath of Fire 1 is a worthy RPG. We will be playing that eventually. It's just, on a Twitch stream, again, I'm playing it's not an easy RPG, but it's pretty easy to film. I'm doing Final Fantasy for NES. I got pretty far in it. I haven't really done another chapter in a while, but it's interesting planning out your route, planning out what you're going to film, while at the same time, you're off camera trying to grind levels. It's going to be similar to that in Breath of Fire. There's a few things. There's a lot of side quests in some of these older RPGs, so doing something like that might be a little tedious to see online. However, we do plan on bringing you some RPGs eventually. And Ray, of course, is doing his Final Fantasy VI thing, which he will give you more information about later on. But, yeah, we'll eventually on our Twitch, twitch.tv/240p Club. We will be doing something for Breath of Fire and for some of these other games that are turning 30, some of the games turning 25 this year, and a few of the games turning 20. We have some big anniversaries. A lot of important titles were released in 1988, 1993, and 1998.
I think one day, one of my summer projects, if I don't take any summer courses, I'm going to try to run through the entire Fire Emblem series. Or at least the retro ones of that. Yeah,
I'm saying Fire Emblem Heroes probably not, don't want to run through that. Well,
no, that's a phone game.
Oh. No, yeah. What was the one released for,
Warriors.
Fire Emblem Warriors.
Yeah.
That was released for the Switch. It looks fun. I don't have a copy, but it looked fun in the store. It looks
fun, honestly. It
looks like a Dynasty Warriors game.
Yeah, I mean, that's not the issue. For me, it felt more like... They have a Zelda version of Dynasty Warriors called Hyrule Warriors, and Fire Emblem Warriors felt more like Hyrule Warriors rather than Dynasty Warriors, but...
Gotcha.
But, yeah. I mean, it looked fun. Like, I thought that I would actually be playing with the Fire Emblem characters, not the original characters that they created, so... Well, I was only really just playing store demo, but I'm sure if I actually got the game, I would be playing as...
Characters you create.
No, the actual, like, Fire Emblem characters. But
yeah.
The problem is, like, I like a lot of the more older roster, not, like, I jokingly call it waifu emblem, because that's pretty much what Fire Emblem has become. Like, if you see a lot of like the characters from what was it, Fates, Awakening, you see a lot of these like big-breasted female characters who
colorful hair, ready
like,
to be cosplayed, basically.
Yeah, Camilla's one of them, which I actually ended up really liking her personality. Like, if I actually like look deeper into the character and find out she's an absolutely psychotic mother hen, and if you can look beyond her design and realize just how cool of a character she is, like, she's the first person where, like, if she sees someone is threatening her, quote, children, like, her siblings, but she calls them, like, her children, because her mother died and she had to raise them all on her own.
Yes, she's like the motherly figure.
Right, and if she sees someone just looking the wrong way at her kids, like, she'll stomp right over to you in her stiletto boots, and she'll just, like, chop your head off with an axe and then just walk away. Like, don't you ever look at my kids again! Don't you come near my daughter, I will kill you! I'm just like, oh, okay, I like you now. Like, but yeah, it's definitely... A lot of the roster in that game is more from the Waifu Emblem series.
Oh, yeah.
But I went back and I played, because through Fire Emblem Heroes on the smartphone, I actually had the opportunity to play the game, and I realized, okay, maybe it's not just waifu. Like, maybe the game is actually pretty sweet. So I started playing a remake of Shadow Dragon, and ended up really liking it. But I had to start over by, like, the third stage because they killed a character I really liked.
Oh, no.
And once the characters die in the game, that's it. Like, you can't play them. Ever, or you can't play them anymore. One character who I'm not incredibly fond of, Kadea, I believe her name is. She's Marth's fiance. I don't really like her. She's not really that great of a unit, but her charm level is so high that she can actually recruit enemies and have them join you. The problem is, a lot of these flyers, the Pegasus flyers, the Wyvern riders, you're not supposed to let them be shot by arrows. And I accidentally put her right in front of an archer, and he just killed her in one hit, which changed everything.
Change the story.
Change the story.
So yeah, there's basically a lot of save state abuse, so you got to reload.
Oh yeah.
I think tried something similar with Chrono Cross, where you had to recruit all the characters, and you can recruit this character if you did this, or you can recruit this character if you did this, and you know, basically it was to up replay value so you could see all the endings, but at the same time it was a pain in the ass because, you know, some parts you really didn't want to play through again. And, you know, you're playing them, you're like, oh no, I don't want to do this again, I don't want to reload this again, so you just basically just reload, you know, through a walkthrough, just to try to get some of the best characters, best endings to power game, you know. So I can imagine it's the same thing for some of these older, Fire Emblem games. There
was one thing also, the main character of Shadow Dragon is Marth. And Marth is the only character you can bring into villages and recruit the people who are in there. The problem is, though, when the thieves come in, you have to kill the thieves immediately, or they'll ransack the village, and you can't recruit who's in there. So the thing is, I had to send Marth so far away from my army that he was vulnerable to any attacks. And then if he dies, you have to start the whole stage over again.
Oh yeah.
So I went after one of the thieves because I found out that there was actually a mage in there, and I had a lot of sword fighters, I had 2 archers, 4 axe people, and I think you can have like 12 per unit or so. But I didn't have any mages, and I realized, oh, well, there's a mage in this village. Excuse me, just before I got to the village, the thief came out of nowhere and ransacked. I'm like, So I had to start over, and...
Yeah.
Because...
That would drive me nuts.
Oh, yeah, I was like...
Drive me absolutely nuts.
I have played a little bit of the original Fire Emblem for Famicom, the fan translation, which Shadow Dragon is actually a remake of. I made it to like chapter 4 or something. I'd like to give it another shot soon.
It's really fun. I would recommend playing the DS remake of that because it plays a lot faster, it looks better.
It's not 240p though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I kind of cheated.
There is a certain charm in playing some of these old games, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I do have the Famicom version of it also.
We'll be digging through that and many other titles in the next few months. We also have a few surprises we're working on. Nothing concrete yet, so stay tuned. I know we all last year bullshitted you about a medical-themed podcast. That will be coming sooner than later. It's just a matter of, that's one of those ideas we've had on the back burner, and we were just looking for the right way to execute it, so... we're just bringing it out there. We haven't forgotten about that idea. It's just, hey, we gotta look for a perfect way to execute it. Everything else, 240p, 240p Club, we just basically go off cuff. It's just like, hey, how could we pull this one off with a very limited budget? We don't have thousands of dollars to invest into every one of these shows. So we, find creative ways to do stuff. So this is one of those cases where, hey, we're just going to find some creative way to do some things. So I don't think we haven't forgotten about some of those ideas we've run by y'all. We're, in the process of figuring it out. So, but anyway, while you're waiting for us to figure it out, you could figure out a few things on 240pclub.com, facebook.com/240pclub, Twitter @240pclub. Our YouTube channel is at 240pclub. Our Twitch, twitch.tv/240pclub. And we have an Instagram as well. All these outlets for you to communicate with us. Feel free to type them in and do said communicating with us, because hey, bring up some topics, whatever. We would love to cover them. There's a controversy right now going on Twitter about on Twitch about something called swatting, which we will be covering probably next podcast. There's a few other interesting topics out there happening in the world of retro gaming. So stick around. The next podcast, next time we can record, we will bring you some of these topics and some other relevant news. So anyway, today, from all of us at the 240p Club, I'm Metallic Joe.
Nikki.
And I'm Ray.
And we will see you later. Please keep gaming.
Bye-bye.